I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There is a conspiracy around Epstein that has not been uncovered fully yet. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there is something going on here. There's a lot going on that we still don't know. And there are lapses and and unanswered questions and horrific judgment by law enforcement at different stages of this that I mean, here's one example. The one guy who you would think you got to keep this guy alive in prison is the one guy in the history of that prison. I think they had El Chapo in that prison. I mean, they have had they've had like guys involved in Al Qaeda plots. I mean, they've held the worst of the worst at the MCC. It is a fortress, and it's in Manhattan, but it is a fortress. And this guy's able to kill himself. The only one. I mean, and we're just supposed to say, oh, okay, I guess the guard fell asleep. What can you do? Now, I was telling you before about what had happened. I want to be very specific about it. And this is reporting from the Miami Herald, which is a very liberal, generally very trash liberal paper. But on the Epstein thing, they've actually done real reporting, and they're a major reason why there was a renewed effort to take down this human trafficking ring and human trafficking ring and blackmail ring. Yes, there's the human trafficking, which is awful, and Ghislaine Maxwell is serving 20 years for that. But there's the blackmail component of this as well. And that's the part where all of a sudden everyone's, I don't know what's going on. Listen to this. I'm going to read to you. This is from December 2021. It's a couple of years back. And it's from the Miami Herald. Quote, never before seen photographs taken by the FBI during a search following the financier's, by the way, he's not a financier, July 6, 2019 arrest, show several areas of Epstein's gilded 8-story mansion, including the massage room where he allegedly sexually abused girls and young women. A large safe containing more binders of CDs, cash, computer hard drives, diamonds, and passports was found. FBI agents left the house to obtain a warrant for the safe. But when they returned 4 days later, everything from the safe was gone. Did you hear that? FBI agents did a search of Epstein's mansion and had to break into a safe that seemed to be like the stash. Jewels, passports. This was like his go bag plus CDs. What do we think was on those CDs, my friends? The FBI came back 4 days later, and it's not like it would be bad enough if the FBI came back 4 days later and it was all there, and you're like, well, did anyone take anything? Did anyone manipulate anything? They came back 4 days later, and it was gone. All right. Now I'll give you the rest of it. Quote, one of Epstein's lawyers, Richard Kahn, later returned the items in 2 suitcases, according to FBI Special Agent Kelly McGuire. She told the jury that agents searched overnight and the next day before finding the safe buried in a 3rd-floor dressing room. They also found a drawer full of computer hard drives in a ground-floor office. Curiously, she noted that the hard drives they found were already marked with FBI evidence tape, indicating perhaps that they had already been used as evidence in another case. What? Does anyone want to just let all that? So this is from FBI testimony reported on by the Miami Herald. FBI shows up, ransacks this guy's New York mansion. He's already arrested. They're all in on, we got to take down this Epstein ring. Got to do it. Got to find out, what was going on here. Who was he blackmailing and on behalf of whom? Critical questions. Who was he blackmailing and who was helping him? Right? Or who wanted this leverage? There are a lot of theories out there. I'm aware of the theories. I go on evidence. But the FBI shows up and says, oh, no, we only had a search warrant, not a search and seizure warrant. So we're just going to go and come back in 4 days. And it's gone. That is what happened. I mean, people can they can tell me whatever they want. Oh, the procedure. I'm sorry. We're not idiots. I mean, at best, that is a shocking lapse in the FBI's protocols and procedures. And it's so shocking that I don't even know if you could really like what is going on here, my friends? What is going on? Does anyone want to try to explain that one to me? Imagine it wasn't Epstein for a second. Um, imagine that they had gone in and it's a high level political corruption case. Some senator who's getting payoffs, like a Menendez alleged Menendez situation, right? And they went into his house and they found the videos of him having conversations with the people bribing him. And then they were like, you know what? We'll be back in a few days. And they came back and those videos were gone. Like, would people still have their jobs after that? Again, I don't go on conspiracies. I go on facts. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. There is a conspiracy with Epstein that we have not gotten to the bottom of. And I'm the one who makes fun of the crazy UFO stories. And I'm the one who thinks, people get a little, there's stuff we don't know about the JFK assassination, obviously. But I think people think that they have it all nailed down sometimes more than they do. But on this one, there's too much going on. On this one, there's so much smoke that I'm telling you there's a fire. Something's going on here. Something has been going on this whole time. And when you're talking about people with this level of power and money and influence, and the possibility of them having their reputations absolutely destroyed, maybe going to prison for decades, what are they not willing to do? There's nothing they're not willing to do. What kind of leverage, what kind of um, corruption, what kind of criminality will they engage in to protect themselves? Absolutely anything. So I do think that that's something we all have to think about here. And as I said, I just read to you the Miami Herald, not some right wing blog. The Miami Herald's reporting on what happened in the key moment of the Epstein case when they would finally be able to answer those questions. Who was he blackmailing, and why was he blackmailing? As in, other than getting money, sure, but was there anybody else, any larger entity that was involved in this or pushing for this, or any co-conspirators, or well, we may never know now. I mean, they're going to release more names on this list, but they're just you have to remember because there are names on this list that and this is true. There are names that are coming out. People that are I think Cameron Diaz's name is that's just because someone mentioned her and that she has nothing to do with any of this. Didn't know Epstein. There are names mentioned that have nothing to do with anything, and so the names that were involved, they get to say, "Oh, I'm just another one of those named people in Epstein." You already know about the bad ones, like the British prince or whatever. We already know about that. So, I mean, and I just don't think there's been that much. Um, I don't think there's been that much interest in really getting to the bottom of it from a lot of places in the government. I think they want to move on. I mean, there's a lot of that, right? The government wants to move on from COVID, doesn't want to admit, how tyrannical and insane they were, and a best case analysis is that our government wants to move past the Epstein case because of its embarrassment at how poorly it was handled. That goes without, that is like obviously true. That is beyond question. But I think a lot of you think it's worse than that. And I think something else is going on too.